So, I'm live here. I'm going to be on here for a little while. Got some stuff to talk about. I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but I don't know. I could just talk about everything in one live video as opposed to making separate vids in one day. So, Julianna Pena, is back in the media. Did an interview with Ariel Helwani. And then, of course, Alex Pereira announced officially that he is going to 205 pounds. And, UFC 290 is looking very good. And of course, this weekend we got Max Blessed Holloway coming back, taking on the almighty Arnold Allen. What's up, Toron Brown? How's it going? So, I watched Juliana Pena's interview. And to no surprise, she admits to turning down the Irene Aldana fight, but I already knew that. I already knew she turned her down. She was supposed to fight her March 25th, San Antonio, and she said no. And then the UFC tried to make Aldana Pennington, but they're like, you know what? That fight's not appealing. We don't want that to headline the card. So they moved Cheeto versus Sandhagen from, February 18th to the March 25th card because they needed a good headliner. And then the UFC, it seemed like they were trying to negotiate their way into getting Aldana in there with Amanda Nunes. I mean, even Nunes was surprised that Aldana was not next. Of course, Juliana Pena, I want to say ruined their plans, but at the same time, it's not 100% her fault because the UFC had a choice. Juliana Pena gave them that choice. Juliana Pena said, you know what? Look, I'm not going to fight Irene, okay? The only fight that makes sense is me and Amanda, which is not true. But she said, you know what? Go ahead. Put Irene in front of me. Give her the fight with Amanda Nunes. I don't care. I'm just going to hold my ground. The UFC, Dana White, the brass, they heard Juliana Pena say that. They heard Juliana Pena say that. And what do? Instead of giving Aldana, who said yes, the title shot, instead of rewarding the one who was willing to step up and who's coming off 2 knockout wins in a row, what do? They decide, you know what, Juliana, you've done nothing in the last year but complain, but bitch, but moan. But you know what? Even though you got 50-43 by Amanda Nunes, we're going to give you the title shot over Aldana because why not? Yeah, like that makes all the sense in the world. They should have took the green light that Pena gave them and made Nunes Aldana for June 10th, and then who knows? Maybe just give Pena the winner. I don't really care. You know what I mean? Or try to negotiate Juliana into taking another fight or remove her from the rankings. If she doesn't do her job, just cut Juliana. And this is coming from a Juliana Pena fan. But I'm just fed up with Juliana Pena, man. I'm so annoyed with Pena. I'm pissed at Juliana Pena because Aldana deserved this opportunity, and now Irene Aldana has to risk her spot. She has to take a risk now. The UFC is not going to bench Aldana. Aldana doesn't have that name value, that status to where she can just sit out and not fight anyone. So she's going to have to take a fight in the meantime and take a risk. And there's always a chance that what happened to Marina Rodriguez could happen to her. And she might lose and never fight for the belt. And now is the time for Aldana to fight for the title. And I don't want to hear the stupid debate that, oh, well, Nunes Pena 3 is more marketable. Then why are fans saying that this won't do good pay-per-views? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any freaking sense. And then what annoys me too is that it's like people are saying Aldana isn't marketable and shouldn't be in there with Nunes because you can't market that fight. Well, think about it like this. Irene Aldana has a country behind her, Mexico. She's got the Mexican market behind her. And right now, Mexico is killing it in title fights. You got Moreno, undisputed champion. Grasso just shook up the world against Valentina. She's the champion. Yair is the interim champion, okay? Now is the perfect time to have Aldana in there fighting for the belts while you got 3 other Mexican champions. Because then what if Aldana wins? You got 4 Mexican champions, okay? I believe Destiny does have an expiry date, and there will come a time where there will be no more Mexican champions, or Mexicans will not be meant to succeed. And now is the time for Aldana to get it done for the team. And Juliana Pena with her selfish ass, messed this up. All right, let me read some of these comments. Okay, what's up? What's up, brother T? I saw John Jones versus Stipe isn't happening in July at UFC 290, looking like fall around November, NYC. You know what? I mean, honestly, John Jones is long overdue to fight in Madison Square Garden, so I wouldn't mind that to see Jones versus Miocic at MSG. But why not July? Like, I don't understand. But Stipe seems like he's ready because Miocic said, and I thought I was the one who was ducking. So there's just some weird stuff going on behind the scenes that nobody really knows about. Just some weird negotiation, complex stuff. So who knows? God willing, they can get this done for UFC 290 because if Jones versus Stipe is official, UFC 290, we're looking at 3 title fights: Jones versus Miocic, Rodriguez or Volkanovski versus Rodriguez, and Moreno versus Pantoja 3 title fights. And to top it off, Jones versus Miocic doesn't get made. There's room for Edwards versus Covington. Um, if Leon Edwards gets the money he wants, because Leon said he's not going to fight at 290 unless they pay him good. Otherwise, he wants to fight in Abu Dhabi in October, which is weird because I thought him and Covington was in the works for July 22nd in the UK, but I guess there's no UK pay-per-view happening in July, but we'll see. I'm just so happy that Julianna got it because I have faith in her and I know she can beat her again. And Irene is next. I think she should bench herself instead of fighting and risking her title shot. I think so too, but do you think the UFC is going to let Irene Aldana bench herself? Do you really think so? What if the UFC offers Aldana Raquel Pennington, the number 2 contender, highest ranked outside of Julianna Pena, and Aldana says no? What if the UFC, who already doesn't respect Aldana enough to get her in the top 5 of the rankings or top 3, what if they say, you know what, you declined Pennington, you're not getting a shot, we're giving Pennington the shot? You know what I mean? And I know no one wants to see Raquel fight for the belt, but I can just see the UFC pulling off that BS on Irene Aldana. So I don't believe that MMA, or I think Aldana is a better matchup for. Yep, I think so too. I think so too. I think people just heavily underestimate Irene Aldana, and she's just so overlooked and she's so disrespected. I heard someone in a debate about this fight. I'm not going to name drop him, but he did say, "Oh, how does Aldana get it done? She can't fight Amanda Nunes the way Julianna Pena did." Which, the way Julianna Pena, the way she beat Nunes was just being tougher, walking through her punches, gassing her out, and then taking her down and subbing her. Maybe Aldana doesn't have a Julianna Pena granite chin, but she does have that gas tank that Pena does. I'll say that much. She may not have that Pena offensive grappling threat, let alone the grappling all in all to go up against Amanda Nunes. But that's not the only way to beat Amanda Nunes the way Julianna Pena did. And the way Pena beat Nunes, the same way did not work 2 times over, did it? Amanda Nunes came back. She adapted. She switched up her whole game. She changed stances. Julianna Pena was unable to adjust. And all she had to bank on was being tough and having heart. And that wasn't enough when skill for skill, Amanda Nunes is just the all-out better fighter. Julianna Pena's way of beating Amanda Nunes is taking damage to give damage in hopes that Nunes folds to that relentless pressure and breaks. It didn't work twice. Irene Aldana, her style revolves around giving damage without taking damage. Irene Aldana is more technical than Julianna Pena, better boxing than Julianna Pena. She's got one-shot knockout power compared to Pena. She has that KO threat on Amanda Nunes. And quite frankly, I believe if Irene Aldana can defend takedowns of Amanda Nunes, if she doesn't end up like Pena in the second fight or Jermaine Durandamy, I think she outboxes Amanda Nunes, similarly to how Alexa Grasso outboxed Valentina Shevchenko. I don't think Amanda Nunes can stand with Irene Aldana. I know some of you may think I'm crazy. You might bring up the Holly Holm fight, but it's facts, okay? Nunes is sloppy on the feet. Aldana is tighter and sharper, okay? Aldana rolls with punches nicely. I think obviously Nunes could catch Aldana. I'm not saying Aldana can't get caught or can't get hurt by Amanda Nunes. And Amanda's got them leg kicks too that Irene has to look out for. But the striking will favor Aldana. She has a better chance with Nunes on the feet than she does on the ground. I mean, am I wrong, guys? Let me read some more comments. Yes, but there's the unknown factor to it. Nunes doesn't know how good Irene really is and how strong she really is. That's true. Irene is being treated like shit. She's on a 2-fight win streak, and I think she should leave the UFC. I mean, where is Irene Aldana gonna go? Bellator? No. PFL? Do they even have a 135 division? And I wouldn't recommend it, man. PFL is cursed for fighters who try to make that transition from the UFC to PFL. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, she could go back to Invicta, but I think she should stay in the UFC. She needs to figure something out. I think her and her management team, I don't know, but I don't think leaving the organization is a solution. Because I think if Irene is patient, who knows, there could be a solution to this problem. And hey, it's only April. There's still time for Julianna Pena to pull out of this fight. So there's a good chance that the universe could correct itself. Julianna gets injured, and the rightful contender who should be fighting Amanda Nunes fights Amanda Nunes. Perhaps, but I don't think Nunes is worried about anyone in the division. If all strawweights are booked, why haven't they announced the title fight? Something fishy is going on. Oh yeah, that situation bothers me too. Like, I think they just need to give Amanda Lemos the title shot against Weili Zhang. But I see what the UFC's vision, okay, because there's not really enough notable names in that division. You know, apart from Andrade and then Nama Yunez, but we don't want to see Andrade Weili too. We know how that ends, but look, there's like not a clear contender outside of Amanda potentially. Who else is there for Zhang Weili? I think the UFC really wanted to make Weili versus Rose 3. That's the biggest and best fight you could make in that division right now. But I think Rose kind of messed up their plans a little bit. Like Nami Yunez declined literally 3 fight offers late last year that she could have took. She could have won either of those fights against Xiaonan, against Marina, and against Dern. She said no to all 3. Had she took either one of those fights, she would have won, and she could have been in a position to fight Weili right now. And I think that's what the holdup is, because the UFC probably doesn't even have a problem giving Rose a title shot coming off a loss. But even then, I think Rose is just being very difficult. So I think the UFC, they don't want to give Lemos the title shot because she's not really known to the public. It's not a fight they can truly sell or market. But if that's the issue, just make them the co-main of a pay-per-view or a headliner of a fight night. Like, big deal. But I understand the UFC as a promotion. They're a business at the end of the day. So I get it. Maybe they're waiting for Tatiana Suarez to be in the top 5. I don't know. I really don't know. But at least we got a title fight going on in the bantamweight division. For all this complaining I've been doing, at least bantamweight has a title fight. Finally, there's a title fight. It's not the title fight that I want or that some of y'all else don't want to see. You know, everyone with a brain knows Pena does not deserve this title shot. No offense, MMA Art, you're my homie. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm going to rephrase that, actually. I'm going to rephrase that. You're not dumb if you want to see this trilogy, because I'm not trying to offend some of y'all, but I'm just saying, like, it's not the fight to make, okay? Logically speaking. And, you know, most people who knew it was up did not want this fight, but at least we have a fight. At least Amanda's fighting, and at least Julianna Pena's fighting. And we can just get this over with, and hopefully Aldana stays winning in the meantime, or is allowed to hold her spot and just wait for the winner. But we'll see. Facts, DJ. I said something. Rose can easily get a title shot if she wants it. Yeah, but Rose is just being Rose at the moment, so... Where the hell is Tony Ferguson? He's been very silent as of late. It's not like he's usually very vocal. I haven't heard any fight news either. I mean, he's in the works to fight Kevin Lee for July, so they'll probably like announce that to be official, like maybe in May or something like that. By the way, I love Irene, but Ketlin Vieira was out striking Irene before the KO. To think Irene is a much better striker than Amanda is just inaccurate. Okay, but here's the thing about that. That was like in 2019, and Irene Aldana has improved leaps and bounds from that fight against Ketlin Vieira. And even though Ketlin was landing, yes, who got the better end of it at the end of the fight? Irene Aldana is the one who knocked her out. And Aldana has that puncher's chance against Amanda Nunes. And even though there is that danger of Aldana getting caught or lit up by Amanda, that is very possible. I'm not dismissing that possibility. I addressed that before. We know Nunes can get hit. We know she can get hurt. We know this. And I do think Irene Aldana, I think she's going to be very smart on the feet against Amanda Nunes. I think in getting hit, she'll keep that composure, unlike other victims of Amanda. And she's not going to be gun shy in getting hit by Nunes, but she's not going to panic and get reckless like Cyborg or Pena in that second fight. She's going to stay calm. I think she has an ability to stay calm, unlike other Nunes opponents, and I think she'll pick her shots intelligently and break Nunes down as the fight goes on. I think she'll do some good work to the body as well. And I just think it's just too dangerous for Nunes on the feet, too risky. Too risky. I mean, yeah, she can catch Aldana, but Aldana can also catch her. And again, I think Aldana has improved. I think her striking has improved a lot since that fight. She's a much better fighter compared to who she was when she fought Ketlin Vieira. If she fought Ketlin again, I don't think the fight goes the same way in terms of Ketlin having the lead, you know. I think Aldana will piece up Ketlin Vieira in a rematch all the way through until knocking her out again or maybe beating her on points. And Weili called for Carla as soon as she KO'd Joanna, but yet she's stalling and holding the belt. I don't know if Weili Zhang's the problem here. Like, Weili is down to fight whoever. And, you know, I think also if Marina Rodriguez would have beat Lemos, I think they would have booked Rodriguez against Weili ASAP. That's what I think. Because she had that win streak behind her, you know, that had her stock lifted up. Like, everyone was talking about Marina Rodriguez and this win streak she was on, how she got better since the Carla fight. Everyone was advocating for her to get a title shot. No one's been talking about Lemos fighting for the belt. So I do think had Marina not blew it against Amanda Lemos, I do believe there's a chance that she'd be fighting Weili right now. You know, it sucks. It sucks. I'm going to predict, though, that Weili is going to fight again in August, and I think the UFC, they're going to make that Lemos fight eventually. I just think the reason why the UFC is stalling, because they don't want to, and they're patiently waiting to find a bigger fight for Zhang Weili, like a fight that can actually get the fans excited. Although Weili versus Lemos is an exciting matchup, you know what I mean? Just marketing-wise, it just doesn't get people hyped. I honestly think Ferguson has a chance against Lee, considering how Lee was struggling against an old Diego Sanchez. I mean, we'll see. I hope Tony wins again. I gotta pick Lee to win that though, because you look at how Tony's been losing his fights lately. It's through wrestling. He can't stop takedowns, and he offers no threat off his back. And I don't see him submitting Kevin Lee again. If this is a prime Tony Ferguson we're talking, I got Tony every time they fight. But this is an older Tony versus a younger Lee. And who knows, man, Kevin Lee might look better this time around. You know, he was coming off a bad injury anyway. And I think he injured his knee mid-fight against Diego. So who knows? Who knows? But he beat Diego. I think he should be able to beat an old Tony Ferguson. Pena should have fought Holly or Rocky MIO. Yeah, I think so too. I really think so too. But, you know, Julianna Pena, her ego will not allow her to take another fight that isn't for the title or not Amanda Nunes. Do you think the UFC is waiting to see how Jan versus Andrade plays out to give the winner a shot? Potentially, especially if Yan Xiaonan wins. I think the UFC might be looking to do a UFC China versus China, Weili versus Xiaonan, and that could be the next biggest fight to make in that division. So maybe that's what they're waiting for. Yeah, I really want Tony to retire. He should just retire right now. I don't know what the hell he's waiting for, man. We all went from saying from 2015 to 2018 or 20, it's Tony time to it's time, Tony. So I don't know. But Tony Ferguson, unfortunately, is going to end up like BJ Penn. where he just keeps fighting and ruins his legacy the more he fights and loses. So sad we never got Tony versus Connor. Yeah, I know, especially like in Tony's prime when Connor was the champion and Connor did not want that smoke. Like Connor avoided Tony Ferguson when Tony was at his best. I think back then Tony wins, but now it's a more winnable fight for McGregor. But they still could have made that fight for the Ultimate Fighter, but they so happen to go with Michael Chandler. All right, look at these comments. But yeah, just a frustrating situation with women's bantamweight and Julianna Pena. Honestly, Pena beating Amanda Nunes was the worst thing to ever happen to the division. And then her losing to Nunes definitely added to the problem here. Because if Julianna Pena would have lost to Nunes the first time, we would move on. Aldana is next in line. She gets the title shot in Amanda Nunes, and we don't got to worry anymore, okay? And the division is in peace. And Julianna Pena would not be on her high horse, and she'd be accepting fight offers left and right because she wouldn't have this big head, big inflated ego from beating the GOAT. And then if Julianna Pena would have won the second time, then Julianna Pena would have been willing to defend her belt against any and all comers. But now that she's won and then lost to Nunes, that's just changed her whole mindset. She feels like she doesn't have to fight anyone but Amanda, and she thinks Amanda owes her this trilogy because she finished Nunes and Nunes couldn't finish her, and they're 1-1. Since the Catlin fight, who has Irene dominated in striking? I mean, she destroyed Yana Kunitskaya on the feet. She was tuning as long as she was standing with Macy Chasson, she was winning on the feet. So I'm not saying like Aldana will just dominate or easily handle Amanda Nunes on the feet, but she's going to hit Amanda Nunes more than Nunes wants to be hit. And most of the exchanges are going to be won by Irene Aldana because of her superior boxing. So Aldana will take some good shots from Amanda, but she'll keep a tight guard and she's not going to try and brawl, you know? And she will time her shots. She'll patiently pick her shots with Amanda Nunes, land when she needs to, stick and move, and I think eventually she can time the perfect shot and KO Amanda Nunes. Yeah, Yana Santos. I called her Kunitskaya, but yeah. If it comes down to just a striking match, Irene Aldana will win against Amanda Nunes, whether she outpoints her or eventually finishes her. You know, Aldana's got that power. Aldana's got volume as well. And she can beat Amanda Nunes in similar fashion to how Pena did, but more technical. It'll be more technical and cleaner. She won't do it while taking the same damage that Pena did. She'll land crisp, accurate, clean combinations to overwhelm Nunes and eventually get a TKO with a barrage of punches if she doesn't one-shot Nunes with that left hook. But I'm going to boldly predict that if Aldana and Amanda fight, I do think Nunes will have some success on the feet, but the stand-up will ultimately favor Aldana, and Nunes will need to get the fight to the ground eventually, because if she doesn't, I think Aldana will get a clean KO, and we'll see something we're not used to seeing. Amanda Nunes flat on her back on the canvas, unconscious. Calling it right now. Oh yeah, I gotta touch on that because this is part of the title. I just seen Jamal Hill wants to welcome Alex Pereira to the light heavyweight division. I think that'd be a great fight of the year in my opinion. Yes, so Alex Poatan Pereira has announced his move to the light heavyweight division. He claims he could still make the weight. I call BS, but he says he feels like he has done his work at 185 and he wants to start a new chapter at light heavyweight. He went from chasing Israel Adesanya, trying to ruin his legacy till he got knocked out by him. Now he wants to chase sweet dreams and avenge Glover Teixeira. But how does he do at 205? I mean, are we gonna see Um, I gotta pull up these rankings on my computer real quick to see who they should match him up with. But are we gonna see Alex Pereira one up Israel Adesanya by becoming the light heavyweight champion? We'll have to find out. I mean, unlike Israel, I think that size won't be an issue for Alex Pereira like Israel because, Alex Pereira is a big guy. So I think, honestly, he's suited for 205. Doesn't have to cut that much weight, doesn't have to deplete himself, especially when he just got knocked out by Israel. Like, I feel like the weight cut, I mean, I'm not making excuses. I wanted Israel to win, by the way. But I do think that cut could have definitely depleted his chin and made it easy for Israel Adesanya to chin him like that. And I think if he would have kept cutting the weight, to 185 pounds, that could have further affected his chin. So I think it is a smart move on his half. And, he could potentially do well. Let me look at these rankings, though. So who could he fight? I say, give him Volkan Oezdemir, maybe. I think that's a very easy fight for Alex Pereira. Way better striker. He's got the power to knock out Volkan. He destroyed Volkan with the leg kicks. I think he beats him pretty handily unless Volkan is able to out-grapple him. But I was actually saying a fight to make for Alex is maybe like the winner of maybe Walker versus Smith. He could potentially beat both. But Jan Blachowicz did call out Alex and said he wanted to be the one to welcome Pereira to 205. And that would actually be a great fight. Interesting fight. I might have to favor Jan to win that fight, though, because Jan can grapple him. And yeah, Alex Pereira, his overall MMA game just it's not fully developed. It's just not. He's a great striker. His stand-up is good. It's dangerous. But the difference between him and Israel, like Israel Adesanya, his full out MMA game is developed. We know that Israel Adesanya has really good takedown defense, and he's hard to control on the ground. He's got a good ground game. Alex Pereira, not so much. And there's a lot of grapplers at 205. And quite frankly, even though this is a good division for him, I don't know if Pereira does well at 205. I don't know. I really don't know. Alex versus Yuri would be a good fight. Yeah, that would be a good fight. A lot of people favor Alex Pereira to win that fight, and I could see why people think Alex would win, because Alex is dangerous on the feet, and Yuri Prochazka is open to getting caught. He's wild, he's aggressive, and yeah, he gets hit clean in every fight. So I could definitely see Yuri getting knocked out by Alex Pereira. But Alex Pereira could also get knocked out by Yuri Prochazka because Yuri Prochazka is very dangerous in his own right. But he could also grapple Alex Pereira because he had like 2 grappling training camps for Glover Teixeira. I know he didn't fight Glover twice like he was supposed to, but he had 2 training camps for the same guy who was one of the most dangerous grapplers at 205. And all his career, Yuri's been working on his grappling. He's fought wrestlers before. So I think he could channel that, to actually using that offensively against Alex. And if he mixes it up, I think he does win. I think, okay, Alex Pereira against the top 10 light heavyweights. Let me talk about that. I think he chins Ryan Spann, although Spann could take him down. He probably knocks out Spann before Spann can get a hold of him. I know Paul Craig has that grappling. But I see Paul Craig catching a flying knee in that one. I said before he beats Volkan. Johnny Walker, that could go either way. But I'm gonna say that Alex Pereira probably chins him. I think Krylov wins. Krylov is really underrated. Like, he does not get enough credit for how good he is. He's good on the feet, but he's also very dangerous with his grappling. I think he takes down Alex Pereira and submits him. Anthony Smith is very durable. He's a very durable guy, hard guy to finish. And I think one of the ways to give Alex Pereira problems is you got to be able to take his shots and you got to be able to pressure him and mix it up. And I think Anthony Smith could actually do that. So I'm actually going to say Anthony Smith wins that. Rakic wins. Rakic can wrestle him, and I think he would wrestle him and beat him. He could potentially catch Jan Blachowicz maybe, but I think Jan could threaten him in both worlds. I think Jan could chin Alex Pereira because Pereira is very open to getting caught. He's not as slick as Israel Adesanya. He likes to brawl, and trying to play that game against Jan is very dangerous because of how dangerous Jan is with his counters. But I think Jan Blachowicz could just out-grapple him, Ankalaev out-wrestles him. Yuri Prochazka is a toss-up. I'm going to be generous and say Pereira does beat Yuri, but that's a fight that Alex can lose too, and then the champion. A lot of people seem to think that Alex Pereira is a lock against Jamal Hill. But I think that Jamal Hill would actually starch Alex Pereira. I think he puts Alex Pereira to bed, honestly. How can you look at Alex Pereira get starched by Israel Adesanya and be so confident that he beats Jamal Hill? How? I don't understand. If Israel Adesanya can catch Alex Pereira and knock him out, what makes you think that Jamal Hill can't? And I don't want to hear that, oh, but Israel Adesanya is a good striker. And Jamal Hill's not as good of a striker. Jamal Hill is also a good striker. He's also a smart striker. He's also a good counterpuncher. And Alex Pereira, he marches forward down the center line and he drops his hands after throwing that left hook. I'm pretty sure Jamal Hill can make those reads. And all it takes from Hill is one. I know he couldn't knock out Teixeira, but Alex Pereira, even moving up a weight, is not going to have the durability of Teixeira to take those shots of Jamal Hill. I think Jamal Hill puts him out, and Jamal Hill has good grappling too. Jamal can mix it up. I just don't see Alex doing too well in this division. I just don't. I think Alex Pereira, the furthest he can go is maybe like top 7, top 5. But if the UFC isn't smart, if they don't give him like a favorable style matchup and then just give him a title shot right away, he's not getting a title shot. If they make him go the hard road, he's not getting a title shot. Just like if in the middleweight division, if they actually gave Alex Pereira some tough styles like Vittori or Brunson, he's not fighting Israel for the title. I think Adesanya has a better chance at grabbing that 205 belt than Alex Pereira because he's more technical than Alex, because he's more slicker with his defense than Alex Pereira. He's a lot harder to hit. He's a lot more slippery, okay? Adesanya is a harder guy to beat than Alex Pereira, okay? You cannot dispute that. I don't care if he's 1-3 to Alex Pereira. I do not care. Israel Adesanya is a difficult guy to go up against. Alex Pereira is just dangerous, but he's not the hardest man to beat. You just got to be super durable, and you got to be able to out-grapple him and wear him out. And I think you beat him. I think Hill beats Alex, though. Me too. Anthony Johnson versus please. Rumble Johnson. I mean, rest in peace to Anthony Rumble Johnson, but Anthony Johnson kills Alex Pereira. He would out-wrestle him if he wanted to. And I think after some takedowns and Alex Pereira being worried about the takedown threat, I think he gets out-wrestled for a round and then he gets knocked the F out by Anthony Rumble Johnson. I think the fight plays out very similar to Rumble versus Manawa. Because remember how Anthony Johnson beat Jimmy Manawa? Manawa was also a very dangerous kickboxer. Rumble hurt him early, then just ragdolled him on the ground. And then early in round 2, they got in a wild exchange and Rumble caught him. And I think that Rumble could definitely catch Alex Pereira. Like, people do not realize how open Alex Pereira is. I'm not saying Pereira is not a talented striker. He is a good striker, but he is hittable. Even Sean Strickland, who got sent to the moon by Alex Pereira, will tell you how hittable Alex Pereira is. And that's why I think Jamal Hill would beat him. Because Jamal Hill would I think that fight could come down to who lands first. But I think that Alex gets caught and does not endure the punishment or the power of Alex Pereira. But we'll see. I've been wrong before. Maybe Alex Pereira does beat Jamal Hill and takes his title, but I don't see it. But I just cannot see how people give Alex Pereira this like invincibility treatment after getting knocked out by Israel Adesanya. If anything, people should lose confidence in Alex Pereira, because Alex Pereira, the only reason why he became champ to begin with is because he matches well with Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya does not have that grappling threat on Alex that other fighters might have. With Israel Adesanya, all Poatan had to worry about was the striking, and he's beaten him 2 times before their last fight in MMA. And then before this one, he's beaten him 3 times, but now the spell is broken. The tables have turned. And I've always said, beyond the Israel fights, I do not see Alex Pereira being that successful in his MMA or his UFC career. I'm not hating on Alex Pereira. I do wish him well. I'm just saying the honest truth. I think Alex Pereira is going to have a Holly Holm-like legacy, a Cody Garbrandt-like legacy. You know, the legacy of that fighter who beat the GOAT of their weight class, but then does horrible afterwards, has a bad career afterwards. The GOAT curse is real, and I do think that Alex Pereira is going to catch that, and we may see him go on a losing streak. I don't want to be right about that. I would like to see Pereira live up to the hype of beating Israel Adesanya 3 times and show that he's not only effective when he's in there with Israel, but I don't know, man. I don't think he'll do any better at 205. These guys are also big. These guys are also powerful, and there's a lot of grapplers. So his best bet was to stay at 185 and try to get the Israel trilogy, but he's in no rush to fight Adesanya again. So, I mean, I know fans, they want that storyline of Alex Pereira winning the 205 belt and then welcoming Israel to 185, and they complete their series of fights up a weight class, champ versus champ, but I think that's going to get spoiled. I'm sorry. All right, let me read these comments. Who you got, Pantoja or Moreno? Man, that's a tough fight. That's a very tough fight to call, because Alejandro Pantoja is very good. He's beaten Moreno twice, but Moreno's gotten so much better since then. But man, Pantoja looks so good in his last fight. I mean, the way Pantoja looked against Royval, where he looked sloppy and gassy, but he eventually got him in a sub. I'm like, if that, like watching that fight had me confident Moreno would beat him. And I do think if that version of Pantoja would have been up against Moreno, he loses. But the Pantoja we saw in his last fight against Perez, that was Pantoja on his best night. And I do think that we're going to see Pantoja have a peak performance in his first flyweight title shot, you know, against the guy that he's already beaten twice. We're going to see a very dangerous Alejandro Pantoja. And I'm worried for Brandon Moreno because Pantoja destroyed him badly in that second fight. So it's a tough one to call. But, you know, there were some factors in that second fight, though. It was on short notice. Moreno was preparing for Ray Borg. That fight got canceled twice. Then he ended up getting Pantoja on like a week or 2 notice. Didn't have a lot of time to prepare, and Moreno was still relatively young back then. Like, this was the same Brandon Moreno who lost to Sergio Pettis. This right now, we're talking about the Brandon Moreno who's beaten Davison Figueiredo twice in dominant fashion. Both times he's beaten him, and has looked good ever since coming back to the UFC, where he should have beat Askarov, but it was a draw. Beat Kai Kara-France twice, finished him the second time, you know, dominated that Brazilian guy, Formiga, but Formiga's kind of washed, but beat him and then destroyed Royval. And honestly, I think he beat Royval worse than Pantoja did. So it's a dangerous fight. I do think Pantoja is sort of a nightmare matchup in the division for Moreno. But I'm going to say Moreno wins. I think he's just slightly better on the feet, more technical with his boxing. His grappling has improved a lot since their fight 5 years ago. And I think if he can keep it on the feet against Pantoja, I think he could just outbox Alejandro Pantoja. He could potentially scramble with Pantoja better than he did back then, get out of dangerous situations, get back to the striking, and just pick Pantoja apart. And, you know, Pantoja was slowing down in that fight against Royval until he was able to get down Brandon and sub him. But Moreno has really good takedown defense in comparison to Royval. So if we do see Pantoja slow down after one round, I don't expect Moreno to be giving up any takedowns or control. So I think the early rounds could be dangerous, but then I say as it goes on, Moreno might get stronger and take over. His submission defense better be on point against Pantoja. Pantoja is a python. Oh, yeah, I agree. Pantoja's nasty with his submissions, but Moreno's got some really good submission defense, though. Like, Brandon Moreno's not the easiest guy in the world to submit. So I think, I don't know. I mean, Davis and Figueiredo couldn't submit him. And then Pantoja had him in positions in that second fight where he could have submitted him and couldn't. So Moreno's jiu-jitsu is very underrated. So I think that's going to be problematic for Pantoja because Moreno, even though Pantoja's powerful and he's a scrapper, Moreno can scrap too. Moreno's got an iron chin, tough. I think his cardio's better, and he's got very good anti-jiu-jitsu. So even on the ground, like I could see Moreno being on top of Pantoja and controlling him on the ground and beating him up potentially. And who knows, maybe we'll even see Moreno submit Pantoja if he can wear him down. Have you seen Moreno scramble and roll? Oh, yeah. Like I said, Moreno's got 6 scrambles, though. Is he really like a mini Charles Oliveira, though? Is he really? I mean, let me look at his Sherdog and see how many, like, submissions he has. I'm going to look up Sherdog Pantoja. How many submissions does this cat have? 10 submissions, okay. Probably like a similar amount to Charles Oliveira. Yeah, so this dude definitely is no joke on the ground. Definitely. But I do still think he'll have a tough time submitting Brandon Moreno. So Mexico right now has two title fights in July. And I was thinking, man, if they can't get the Jones-Stipe fight on there, they might have room for Shevchenko-Grasso too. Another good fight has been added to UFC 290, Davis and Figueiredo versus Manel Cap. Man, I was thrown off by that one because I thought that the plan was for Davis and Figueiredo to move up to the bantamweight division. He said that his last fight with Moreno was his last fight at 125 because the weight cut was getting too hard. And honestly, what I saw in that fourth fight was a Davis and Figueiredo who underperformed because of a bad weight cut, much like their fight in June 2021. That was the exact same Davis and Figueiredo, and that performance, to me, looked like a sure sign that Figueiredo needs to move up divisions because he just can't keep cutting. He can't keep hurting his body by cutting down to 125. He's such a big guy. So, but we'll see. I think his fight with Cape should be a very good fight. Cape is a very good, technically sound striker, but Davis and Figueiredo, man, I mean, all he needs is one. He could potentially land one on the chin, crack Cape. Also, Figueiredo is ground game. He's got that edge over Cape as well. Maybe he can mix it up and use his grappling too. Figueiredo will get starched at bantamweight. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I don't want to see him move up to bantamweight, honestly. I don't want to see it. He's too big. He's in a tricky situation. He's too big for bantamweight or for flyweight, but he's too small for the bantamweight division. But we got Yair versus Volkanovski, Moreno Pantoja. Let's see if Mexico can hold strong on July 8th, man. I don't see Yair beating Alexander Volkanovski, and I'm worried for Brandon Moreno. It's a very dangerous fight. He's got a tough fight on his hands against Alejandro Pantoja. And Pantoja sometimes can be very inconsistent with how he shows up. Like, he looked great against Matt Chanel, Wilson Hayes in 2019, but then looked terrible against Askarov. And then didn't look that good against Manel Cap. I forgot about that fight. That was a very close fight. Didn't look too good against Cap. Did not look good against Royval until he subbed him. but looked amazing against Perez. So again, it depends on which Perez show or which Pantoja shows up, and I do believe that we're gonna see Pantoja at his most dangerous and most efficient on July 8th. But if we see the Pantoja we've seen in 2021, I think Moreno wins that handily. How do you think Tatsuro Taro will, I'm sorry, who are you talking about? Yair will definitely give Volk problems. Yeah, like maybe in those early rounds, I think he could give him problems, but I don't know, man. Volkanovski has the wrestling he can use. He's better over 5 rounds with his gas tank, and his striking defense is very good as well. Yeah, I don't know. I want Yair to pull the upset. Maybe his best chance to win is if he can knock Volkanovski out early. If he catches him with a head kick or a knee up the center, maybe he wins. But catching Volkanovski is hard. And then even when you do hurt Volk, his recovery is so good. And I don't know, man, when Yair, last time he had someone badly hurt, which was Jeremy Stevens, he wasn't intelligent with how he was going for the finish. And he gassed himself out and nearly lost. And I'm just saying, you do that against Volkanovski. If you hurt him, but he's still conscious and you're just throwing like wild hammer fists and you don't get him out of there and he recovers, that's going to be trouble. I mean, look what happened to the last guy who almost finished Volkanovski. Brian Ortega had that tight guillotine, couldn't finish him, and Volkanovski made him pay and beat the snot out of Brian Ortega. So I'm wishing Yair nothing but the best. I do think striking wise, he's the guy in the division who can actually give Volkanovski the most trouble because Volk dominates a lot of featherweights on the feet, but Yair Rodriguez is the only guy with the level of striking to actually pose some sort of problems to Volkanovski in the stand-up. So we'll see. Should be interesting, but I think Volkanovski is going to win this fight. I think early will be dangerous, but as it goes on, I just see Volkanovski just kind of dominating with his pressure, cardio, and wrestling and his championship experience. Volk is just a dog. I think he's too much of a dog for Yair, and he's just the best featherweight there is. It's going to take a lot to beat Volkanovski. I wish Volk fought Khabib Nurmagomedov. Call me crazy, but I think he beats him. After what he did against Islam, and he cracked that Dagestani code, I would not rule it out. I would not rule it out. Who you got? Charles Oliveira or Beneil Dariush? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. People are really counting out Charles Oliveira, and I think people are forgetting how good Oliveira really is, But it's interesting, People are going back to overlooking Oliveira, and now people are finally giving Beneil the respect he deserves. And Beneil is in that position Oliveira was in before Oliveira fought for the belt. Dariush has that win streak going. So right now, I'm not really decided on a prediction, but it's possible that like Beneil Dariush could go out there and, out wrestle Charles Oliveira, take him down round after round, keep him down, win a decision. But Oliveira, man, he is that guy. Like Oliveira is dangerous everywhere. I think Oliveira on the feet is better than Beneil Dariush. And we've seen Beneil Dariush get rocked before. And I'm just saying, like, if Drakkar Klose could rock you, what do you think Charles Oliveira will do? Like, I could see Oliveira reminding everybody who he is and potentially getting a finish. So right now, I'm kind of on the fence. I'll let you know probably towards the end of this month when I do like a prediction video for 288 or maybe like the beginning of May. Right now, I'm undecided. Could go either way. You think Ilia Topuria will give Volkanovski problems? Maybe, but he's got a lot of work to do. I mean, how old is the guy? Like 25 years old? I could be wrong, but yeah, he's young. Still got quite a ways to go, but in time, El Matador definitely could because he's like just as short as Volkanovski. Volkanovski's used to fighting taller guys, and last time we saw Volk in there with a short, explosive guy We saw Volkanovski have some adversity, and Topuria is nasty in the pocket, heavy hands, and Topuria is also nasty on the ground. So right now, I don't think he's ready. Give him a few years. I think he could do it. Who are you picking this Saturday? Um, I'm gonna pick Max Holloway to win against Arnold Allen. I forgot I was definitely gonna talk about that fight in this video. I see a lot of people going for Almighty Arnold Allen. I can see why. He's got that win streak right now. He's got the momentum. But I remember last time Max Holloway was coming off a loss to Volkanovski, and people actually gave Calvin Kattar a chance. And look what he did to Calvin Kattar. Now, I'm not comparing Kattar to Allen. Allen is definitely um, a better fighter than Calvin Kattar. But I don't know, man. Max Holloway, when he's not fighting Volkanovski, he's always winning, and I just don't think Arnold Allen is going to be as good as Volkanovski to neutralize Max Holloway. The only guy in this division who can fully neutralize Max Holloway's style, what makes Max so dangerous, is Alexander the Great Volkanovski. And our almighty Arnold Allen, he does slow down after a couple of rounds. We know this. He's got a bad habit of breaking his hand. And I don't know if he can go 5 rounds with Holloway with one hand. He's not Volkanovski. I just think that cardio and that pace of Holloway is just going to be a problem for Arnold Allen. I think Allen has success early against Holloway, but Holloway is going to show that toughness and he's going to get stronger as the fight goes on, whereas Allen is going to slow down as the fight goes on, and Holloway is just going to take over and probably rally to a decision, if not like a late finish. But we'll see, though. I mean, Max Holloway took like a lot of damage in his last fight against Alexander Volkanovski. And I think that's what a lot of people are banking on here. Like Max Holloway not being the same fighter. He's got a lot of mileage on him right now. He's taken a lot of damage throughout his career. And maybe that Volkanovski beatdown was the nail in the coffin. So maybe on Saturday, Max will be a shell of his former self and lose to Arnold Allen. But I don't think that's the case, man. I think Max is going to come back, remind everybody, and make Alexander Volkanovski look good. So I'm going to say Holloway wins by decision. Allen wins the first 2 rounds close, but then rounds 3, 4, and 5, Holloway takes over and wins like 48-47. I mean, we've seen what happened last time. I mean, in the lightweight division, there's these veterans who've been getting counted out and who've been making comebacks. I mean, look at Justin Gaethje, for example, Rafael Fiziev. A lot of people had Fiziev winning that fight, and Justin Gaethje ended up beating Rafael Fiziev and turning him back. We might see a similar scenario here with Holloway Allen. Yeah, I mean, I do think that Arnold Allen is really good. I do think Arnold Allen is good, but Max Holloway is a huge step up, man. Holloway is not Calvin Kattar. He's not a depleted Dan Hooker who had no business being in the featherweight division. Dan Hooker at lightweight beats Arnold Allen. He had a close fight with Sadiq Youssef, all right? And then who else does he beat? Gilbert Melendez, Nick Lenz, Jordan Rinaldi. I mean, come on. Mads Burnell. Max Holloway runs circles around all these guys. Like, Max Holloway has fought and beat way better competition than Arnold Allen. So we'll see. Arnold has a chance to prove himself this Saturday and prove that he really is that guy. And if Allen does beat Max Holloway, then I do see him being next for the winner of Yair Volkanovski. Well, if Volk wins, Allen's next. If Yair wins, immediate rematch. Holloway won his last fight before fighting Alex for a third, so I don't think he'll be a shell of his former self. Yeah, me neither. But he didn't take a lot of damage, though, in the second Volkanovski fight. This fight, he took a beating. That could have took years off his career. Like, that's the possibility there. But, yeah, he did beat Yair Rodriguez. And then, of course, before that, he smashed Calvin Kattar. So I just think the only guy who can really neutralize him is Alexander Volkanovski. No one else. Volk has the power, the counter striking, the gas tank, the IQ, the volume, all of that to shut down Holloway. No other 145er has that on Max Holloway. Do you think Topuria can beat Holloway? Definitely not. Definitely not. I think right now Holloway destroys Ilia Topuria. He's too much of a dog for Ilia, too tough. Striking is too good. Yeah, Ilia would just be open to too many shots. Like we've seen Holloway, he started adding uppercuts to his game. I could see him catching Topuria with an uppercut, a head kick even. I mean, dude was getting tuned up by what's that black Brit's what's that black homeboy's name from Brit or from the UK? Um, Shoot, what's his name? Now I gotta look him up. I feel so dumb. Ilia Topuria. I gotta see that guy that he fought. His nickname is Black Country. And he beats. Yes, Jai Herbert. I feel so dumb. Okay, yeah. Jai Herbert was tuning up Ilia Topuria on the feet. What do you think Max Holloway would do to him? Even Bryce Mitchell was landing on him in moments. So yeah, I got Holloway winning that one all day. I pray Arnold beats Max. I don't want to see Max versus Volk 4. Even if Max wins, they're not going to give Holloway a title shot again. Like Holloway is saying that, yeah, there's a possibility there will be a fourth fight, and I'm better than Volkanovski. But the UFC, they're never going to give Holloway a title shot as long as Alexander Volkanovski's the champion. Max's only hope is if Yair beats Volk and then beats him again, and then Holloway can get a title shot. Can you imagine those scrambles on the ground? Both got next level jiu-jitsu. Yeah, Oliveira and Beneil on the ground. That's going to be pretty interesting. I think Oliveira wins if he's mentally the same. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing to look at as well. Like, how will he bounce back from the Islam loss? Like, if that has taken a toll on him mentally, then he might lose. Because right now, Dariush has that momentum, and he just has that confidence going in right now. Yeah, so Toron Brown thinks it's going to be a stand-up fight between Oliveira and Dariush. I could see that, and I do think if it comes down to just striking, I think Oliveira will get him. I do. Oliveira is deceptively technical. I mean, both guys are open to being hit, but we've seen Oliveira endure much worse from bigger hitters than Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush, I don't think could handle Gaethje's power and recover and come back. Same goes if he fought Chandler or Poirier. So, yeah, I think Oliveira's got it if they stay standing, and Oliveira might knock him out. I think if Beneil is going to win, he has to wrestle Oliveira. Holloway should just move up to 155. He's fought everyone in that division. He really has nothing to prove there anymore. Yeah, I totally agree. But that's tough for Holloway because he's too small for lightweight. You know, he needs to really put on some size and really get his body, his physique adjusted. Because last time he went to lightweight, he was not ready. He just was like a fat 145er fighting in the lightweight division, and he got smacked up and overpowered by Dustin. So he needs the right matchup and he needs the right physique to get adjusted. And he might be able to do well, but he's not going to be a champion there. Dariush will definitely land on Oliveira standing. Yeah, he could. It's possible. And, you know, Oliveira did get chinned by Islam, so maybe he could get chinned by Beneil. Beneil's got that power, but I just feel like the striking is where Oliveira is going to have the best chance to make something happen. Either guy could knock each other out, but I'm going based off what I know. We've seen how Charles Oliveira does when he's in trouble on the feet. Beneil Dariush, I don't think he has that same ability to recover, rally, survive like Oliveira does. I don't think so. But if Beneil does rock Oliveira, he won't be afraid to go to the ground with him like most. So he might go to the ground with him, and he might be able to finish Oliveira on the ground. That's what makes this fight very difficult to call. Imagine if Holloway fought Justin Gaethje, and Justin is the heaviest hitter. Yeah, I don't want to see that, man. That's like another beatdown. Holloway would get his face mangled, like what happened to him against Volkanovski. That's like Ferguson versus Gaethje all over again. I don't want to see that. I don't think anyone wants to see that. Let me see. Just reading through some of these comments. I know I waffle a lot, I ramble a lot, so sometimes I miss some of y'all comments, but yeah, I just get really passionate when talking about this stuff. Okay, so yesterday, I don't know if any of y'all saw this, and I want Emily Art, I want you to stay on here for this. I know you're a Julianna Pena fan. Oh, hold on a second. Michael Chandler versus Holloway would be good. That's an interesting one. Uh, if Holloway could weather the early storm, which I think he could, I think Holloway just melts Chandler. I think Chandler would probably gas out and get finished like in 3 rounds after like winning maybe rounds 1 and 2. If he doesn't start Holloway early, I think Holloway could get him. Anyway, so for as much complaining as I did about Julianna Pena that I've been doing about Pena, I just have this like weird feeling about the trilogy that if it does go through, that it's going to be more competitive than the last one. I have a weird feeling that it's going to be a tougher fight for Nunes than it was last time. I don't know why. And I'm not even rooting for Julianna Pena that hard this time because I want it to be Irene in there fighting for the belt. And if Julianna wins, my reaction, I'll be happy, but I'll be a little more empty. Like, okay, I'm happy, but whatever. I won't be as happy as I would have been if Aldana would have won the belt. But I don't know. Something tells me like Julianna Pena might get it. I don't know why. I don't know why I kind of see this one being like Moreno Figueiredo, where like Davison came back, got revenge, and then one fight later lost to Moreno the same way he did in the second fight. I can kind of see Pena having like a revenge repeat and surprising people again. But if that's the case, man, I do not want them to make a 4th fight, man. They need to move on, give Irene her shot. Nunes just needs to up and retire, man. Wouldn't mind Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway too. Hey, yeah, I wouldn't mind that as well. I wouldn't mind that too. I don't know, man. Oliveira would probably sub him though at this point because Oliveira has good takedowns. I think he could take down Max Holloway. Yair took down Holloway, I'm pretty sure. And I think Oliveira, all he needs is 1 takedown. And I think Holloway's not surviving on the ground against Charles Oliveira. Now, on the feet, it's a different story. On the feet, Holloway could overwhelm him. Holloway could piece him up. But I don't know. I feel like Oliveira could get him down and could catch him in a sub. And it might look like Poirier versus Holloway circa 2012. Oliveira versus Arman. I don't know, because last 2 times I've confidently picked an up-and-comer versus a lightweight veteran. Look what happened. Dariush beat Gamrot. I was wrong. Gaethje turned back Fiziev. I was wrong. So right now, probably Charles Oliveira, honestly. But I mean, Arman is the reasonable pick. The reasonable pick, because to give Oliveira problems, you have to be able to threaten him on the ground as well as the feet. You got to be able to use wrestling on him and neutralize his bottom game like Islam Makhachev. And, Arman Tsarukyan is very nasty on the ground, and he's got very good submission defense, and he could definitely beat up Charles Oliveira on the ground. But Oliveira, as that veteran, could show him what's up. So depending on how Oliveira looks against Beneil and depending on how Arman looks against Moicano, I'll wait for those fights to truly base a confident prediction. But all I know is Arman is going to kick Moicano's ass. I don't know about that. Now, Charles Oliveira can give it to him in the stand-up, I believe. Of course. Oliveira could hurt him on the feet. And I think we see a lot of wrestling from Arman Tsarukyan in this fight because the stand-up against Oliveira is risky. Although Arman does have power, it's possible Arman Tsarukyan could maybe tag and hurt Charles Oliveira because Islam Makhachev did. I think Charles can handle a Max on the feet too. Yeah, possibly. Oliveira's crafty in the stand-up, and he's got a lot of good tools. And his kicks are good. His Muay Thai is very good as well. And I am rooting for Charles Oliveira to bounce back, just so he can remind everyone, man, like people are just counting him out. They've closed the book on Charles Oliveira over one loss, but I just want Oliveira to prove people wrong. But at the same time, it would be better. It would be way better for the division if Beneil won, so that Islam could have a fresh contender, a fresh matchup. All right. So, anyone got any questions about any fights or any fighters? Been on here for about an hour now. I'm kind of running out of things to say. I pretty much covered everything. I covered the Julianna Pena debacle, Alex Pereira going to 205, Holloway Allen, and UFC 290. I don't really have much to say. Been on here for like an hour and 6 minutes, but there's 6 viewers right now. So if any of y'all have anything, just shoot. And I'll read your comments now. I'm in that stage now where I'll shut up and just listen, read your comments, and hear whatever y'all have to say. While I'm here, I might as well talk about the middleweight division. Oh, and speaking of the middleweight division, someone mentioned Khamzat Chimaev. I think Khamzat would submit Izzy. What do you think? I disagree. I mean, I do have some bias for Israel Adesanya, but Israel Adesanya is no slouch on the ground. No slouch with takedown defense. Now, it is a dangerous fight for Israel because he does use the cage to defend takedowns, and that is dangerous because Chimaev himself, he comes at Chimaev, uses the cage to get his takedowns against opponents in general, sorry. And that could work against Israel Adesanya, but Israel Adesanya could keep that composure on the ground. I could see him surviving on the ground. And if Chimaev is not composed early and goes too hard early for the kill, there's a good chance Israel Adesanya could survive the first couple of rounds, and then Chimaev slows down, and then Israel Adesanya just puts it on him and then picks him apart. I think Israel Adesanya would win the fight, honestly. Striking too good, and it's just not going to be that easy or straightforward for Chimaev to just take him down and ragdoll him, and Israel could drag him into deep waters and punish him late. Khamzat needs to shut up and fight who he's fight. Who is he fighting next? Oh yeah, he doesn't have a fight. He's fighting Paulo Costa, I believe. That fight's in the works for Abu Dhabi in October. I know, 6 months away. Weird how it's not happening sooner. Chimaev went from that guy who will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, the most active guy in the roster, to then now only fighting once a year. Very frustrating. Like, I missed the Khamzat Chimaev from when he debuted in the UFC during the pandemic days, because that Khamzat was fighting every 2 weeks, every 2 months. And then he was booked to fight Leon like in December. He was going to have like his like 4th fight in 2020, but then Leon got COVID, then he got COVID, and then he didn't fight for like a whole ass year. And then he fought like 6 months after he beat Lee, and then 6 months after he beat Burns. And now it's April and he doesn't even have a fight lined up. Well, he has a fight that's in the works, but a fight that will be 1 year after his Kevin Holland fight, which does annoy me because I was excited about Chimaev as a top welterweight contender. You know what I mean? Now that Leon's the champion, I would have liked to have seen Chimaev versus Edwards get rescheduled with Leon Edwards as the welterweight champion, but Chimaev missed weight, won't be active, and now he's going to middleweight, I guess. And you know what? Chimaev could make middleweight interesting because middleweight is kind of lacking. You know, Pereira is moving up. Whitaker lost to Israel twice, although I do think he deserves the next shot. No one wants to see Vettori fight for the belt next. Jared Cannonier, no one wants to see him fight Israel again. So I think it would be nice if Chimaev could actually get a win over Paulo Costa and crack the top 5. Because then if he beats Paulo, he could be like one fight away from a title shot, or from a title fight, essentially. It's not his fault. Fighters have been ducking him. Who's been ducking him, though? He said that Alex Pereira ducked him, but he called out Alex Pereira for January, and Alex Pereira said that he's injured. He cannot make the weight on time for January. How about we go at 205? And then Chimaev went silent. Then Khamzat said Robert Whitaker ducked him. Robert Whitaker is not the guy to decline nobody, okay? Whitaker didn't duck him. I'll only believe him on Colby Covington turning him down. That's who I believe, you know what I mean? Because Colby, we know how he is. He's notorious for declining tough matchups and up-and-coming contenders. I would believe that over anything else. But he's capping about the rest. Dricus needs to shut up. He's starting to sound racist, and Izzy would destroy him. Of course, yeah. I did a video on that back in March, but I set it to private because way too many people were commenting on that video and backing Dricus Duplessis and making me out to be some race baiter, even though I'm not. Still, yeah, I'm sick of Dricus Duplessis. I actually used to like Dricus Duplessis. I was actually a fan of Dricus. When he beat Darren Till the way he did and smashed Derek Brunson, I picked him to beat Brunson, by the way. I had him beating Derek Brunson. I was happy for Dricus Duplessis. But now he's running his mouth saying that, oh, Kamaru Usman and Israel Adesanya are fake Africans because they migrated and started living out in the U.S. or New Zealand. They're not true Africans. I'm the true African because I lived here my whole life after being born here. Like, that just annoys me, man. It really pisses me off. Like, why does he have to run his mouth like that? Israel Adesanya is a true African, whether Dricus wants to believe it or not. I'm not denying that Duplessis is a true African, okay? Even though his ancestry, you know, being a white guy born and raised in South Africa comes from colonizers, you know, the Europeans coming to South Africa and stealing it from the true Africans. Yes, it's not his fault, but from that being his history, he has no room to talk. And people leaving their birthplace does not make them any less of what they really are. Like, if a Chinese person, you know, migrates from China and spends their whole life in the USA, and some white guy was born and raised in China but isn't truly Chinese, does that person have a right to tell that Chinese person he's not Chinese just because that Chinese person moved from China when he or she was really young and started living out in a different country for certain reasons? Like, what sense does that make? How many people from Brazil don't live in Brazil right now because maybe it's not safe for them to live in Brazil? Maybe circumstances have it that they need to move. Why do you think Leon Edwards moved from Jamaica? It was too dangerous for him as a kid. That's where his pops got killed. So, yeah, Dricus is just being dumb. I don't think he's going to make it to a title shot anyway, and he doesn't beat Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya would spark him. Dricus Duplessis doesn't have good cardio, and Israel Adesanya, his takedown defense is too good. He's not getting taken down by Dricus. Dricus is not winning on the feet. And again, Dricus has a bad gas tank. And Darren Till had an opportunity to mix it up, go to the body, and he didn't. Israel Adesanya has more than just a 1-2 straight left. Israel Adesanya's got so much more tools than Darren Till, and he'll go to the body and he'll further drain that tank and destroy Duplessis. But unless they give Dricus a shot right now, I don't think he's getting there. I think the fight to make would probably be du Plessis versus Vettori. I say Vettori wins that. If they give him Whitaker, he loses to Whitaker. If they give him Cannonier would probably knock him out, honestly. And I hate getting in this topic, man. You know, in this channel, I don't like talking about politics. I don't like covering racial injustice and controversy. I just like covering fights and the fighters and fight news. That's what this channel is about. And that's also why I set my video to private, because I just did not want to cover the drama between du Plessis and Usman and Israel. I just didn't want to talk about it. And that's just not a look I want to give my channel. But speaking of the middleweight division, a lot of people were saying Alex Pereira should be next for Israel. Israel owes them the trilogy because they're 3-1. I understand. I get it. But now Alex Pereira is going to the light heavyweight division. And Robert Whitaker, I know he's 0-2 to Adesanya, but why would you guys not want to see him fight for the belt? A majority of you fans had Whitaker winning the second fight to Israel. So if you guys thought that Israel lost the second fight and it was as close as it was, what's the harm in giving Robert Whitaker a third shot? He's the number 2 guy. Soon they're going to push him to number 1 as soon as Alex gets removed from the middleweight rankings, because he's going to be full-time 205. Whitaker is going to be the number 1 contender again. Who else is there for him to fight? I mean, Kolstrom said feed Drickus to Rob so he can get destroyed. But that's just a waste of time, man. Like, who is Robert supposed to fight? He's destroyed pretty much everyone in the top 5. Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vettori. He didn't fight Paulo Costa yet. Paulo's ducked him twice. I get it. But nothing else makes sense for Robert but the champion Israel Adesanya. Nothing else makes sense for Israel but the number 2 contender, Robert the Reaper Whitaker. That rematch is more, or that trilogy is more interesting than the Vettori trilogy, because Israel did not dominate Whitaker twice. He knocked him out in the first fight. Robert came back, made the adjustments, and made the second fight as close as it was. And if anyone has a chance to dethrone the last stylebender, if not Poatan in a trilogy, which it won't be because he's moving up, it's Robert the Reaper Whitaker. Now, I do think that Israel Adesanya would win the trilogy with Robert Whitaker. He's a bad matchup. He's just got that height, that length, that range on him. His striking is better. His takedown defense is too good for Robert to mix it up. And if it's just a striking battle, I favor Israel. And Robert Whitaker already tried the game plan of making it dirty and making it a slugfest, trying to overwhelm Israel with that pressure. It got him knocked out. And now we just saw it got Alex knocked out. But Robert Whitaker also can't really win a points game with Israel Adesanya. If he's patient with Israel, tries to play chess with the chess fighter Israel Adesanya, we've seen that doesn't really work for him, because it will be too close. And the judges in that kind of fight, they're gonna favor Israel Adesanya. Okay. I think Poatan is a more dangerous fight for Israel because he has the threat of being able to knock Israel out. And he's the only guy who can actually leg kick with Israel and out leg kick Israel. I mean, even Israel will tell you, Poatan's got sneaky ass leg kicks. He was chewing up Israel's legs. Israel was chewing up Whitaker's legs. Whitaker couldn't play that leg kick game with Israel Adesanya. So that's not a good fight for Whitaker. But that's the only fight to make right now. Does not matter if Israel beat him twice. That is the only fight that makes sense for Robert Whitaker. He could have already had a fight with Costa. They could have maybe rescheduled that fight, but they didn't. And Whitaker was already technically promised a title shot after 287, was he not? He was the alternate option for Alex if it wasn't the Israel rematch. So I know the expectation was that Alex Pereira would win and then fight Robert. But it does not matter if Alex is not the champ anymore. Whitaker can still get a fight for the title. Just being that he had a close fight with Israel last time. And Robert cut a good promo on Submission Radio when he said that he will not stop hunting down Israel Adesanya. He's passionate about getting that one back. And he even said that it took Izzy 4 fights to beat Poatan. Whitaker said it's only going to take him 3. And I like that. I like that confidence. It gets me excited, and I want to see that next. No more trilogies. We need some new fights. I know, but right now, that's the only one that makes sense. Robert Whitaker. Yeah, that's the only fight that makes sense. I'm gonna wrap this up soon, but yeah, that's the only fight that makes sense right now. Dricus du Plessis, ranked number 6, doesn't deserve it. Sean Strickland's coming off 1 win after snapping a 2-fight losing streak. He's ranked number 7. So, yeah, the fight to make right now is Whitaker Adesanya. Du Plessis has some work to do. Give him Cannonier or Marvin. If he beats either or, then give him the title shot. If Strickland can work his way up, give Strickland the title shot. But right now is the time for Robert Whitaker versus Israel Adesanya. Okay? Nothing else makes sense. Okay? If Israel's gonna fight again in like the next 5 months, who else is there? We're not doing Jared Cannonier. We're not doing Marvin. We're not doing Strickland. And we're not doing du Plessis. We're gonna do Whitaker versus Adesanya 3, and then we can move on. All right. I'm going to wrap this up now, but it was fun being on live with y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in to this live. I'll definitely go live again very soon. I got a lot more to cover in the world of MMA. I got some new videos I'm going to be dropping very soon. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, peace out.